failure is only finite. It really only happens if you quit. No one cared in 2013 when we started the company, and everybody cared in 2020 when we sold it. There's a lot of people who are making some big bets on this, and so we'll see if I'm a genius or a fool pretty soon.
I think it's genius.
A 9-figure exit, a partnership with Samsung, and a plan to completely kill the gaming console. This is André Swanston, the founder leading a cloud gaming revolution with PHYND. We sat down on the day of their massive Samsung launch to find out how they're making gaming completely free and entirely controllerless.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Kimberly Lovey, and I am joined by Andre, who, congratulations, just launched a giant, magnificent platform called PHYND. Congratulations, it's launch day.
Thank you, it's exciting.
As we speak, your gaming app and platform is actually in the middle of a live rollout. I mean, what an incredible moment. How are you feeling?
It's been a long time coming. I mean, we've been working on it for about 2 years behind the scenes, between developing the technology and licensing the games and doing the distribution deals with all the major television manufacturers. So it's been a lot of moving pieces, and so it's exciting to finally get to where we are. But we got a long way to go. So it's a big milestone, though.
It's huge. It's absolutely huge. And gosh, I'm just so excited, and I'm so honored that I get to have you here on this special day. You are a multi-time entrepreneur. I deem people like you a little bit crazy because, you know, entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. And I would love to hear more about what brought you to this company, where we're at today. So can you give us a history of where this entrepreneurial, this love for starting companies came from?
You know, that's a great question. I think it's a couple of things. My dad was very entrepreneurial. He didn't have the same resources that I've been privileged to have, or the same connections, but in terms of just hustling, trying to, he was a salesman, he was a director of sales at Cablevision back in the 90s. Yes. When selling cable was like a big thing, and just always doing stuff on the side. So I kind of saw that entrepreneurial spirit, and then I don't like working for other people. So the combination was like perfect for me to do that. I mean, I've worked at JP Morgan, I've been in the big corporate, and it's just not me. I always wanted to do my own thing. And I've never really had, even when I worked in corporate America, I've never had a job where it wasn't eat what you kill, right? So where your base salary was any real percentage of what you made. Like, it was always even commission-based type sales roles for me. So I think being an entrepreneur doesn't matter if you're a plumber or you're a tech CEO, you're a salesperson, right? You've got to go get business, get investors, get customers. And so it's just who I am.
I love that. I think that authenticity is so important. And for all the different founders I've spoken with, I always like to get to the heart of who they are, because what I found is their businesses really come from somewhere really deep and authentic, whether it's just a fun passion or whatever their interest is. And I know, like, for my company, it started out of a passion for podcasting when I was in a corporate job. So what was your very first startup that you started working on?
Let's see. So a first official startup. So I had, things that I did, but where it was like a real registered business and tried to go out and get capital and sell business, it was a startup called Dreve, Dreve, and it was actually founded in May of 2012. We essentially, what it was before there was an Apple TV or Roku or any of these things, it was a digital platform where you could go on and you could stream content on the web, and you could personalize recommendations for media. You could pull in all of your social accounts into one platform, and essentially it was just a recommendation engine for content and consuming content. I think it was ahead of its time, frankly, maybe by 3 or 4 years, and weren't able to raise capital. Actually, it was a really great platform, and some of the things that I've done later in life were ideas that, frankly, we even had and tried to implement back in 2012, and it just wasn't successful. We couldn't raise the capital for it, but one of the things that my co-founder and I realized at that time was that the data and the insight that we were gathering was actually maybe more valuable than the underlying company. And we just saw that things were going to eventually go to streaming. That's right when Roku sticks were starting to get popular. And we said, whoever could control the data and the insight around how to advertise to people as things went to streaming would make a lot of money. And that's when we founded Optik, which was our first like venture-backed tech startup and had a big exit 7 years later.
That is crazy. So I'm curious about your experience and kind of your overall thoughts about raising capital, because I feel like it's one of those things, like I know when I was in business school, they, really wanted to coach us up about what's good, what's bad, how do you do this, how do you pitch? But the realities of raising capital isn't always like the easiest thing to do. It's not always the most sexy thing to do in terms of, reporting once you've received the money and KPIs and all of that. What do you like? When is a good time in your mind to raise capital? And when do you know it's worth giving up equity? Just, for any founder out there that's like thinking like, am I supposed to be looking at some backing or maybe try and retain everything? Like when do you have that trigger saying, okay, I need to go out and get funds?
So I think it's different for every person and every situation. Also, the type of company that you have, right? To be a venture-backed company, you really have to be in a situation where your company can have really exponential revenue growth or a big return on investment. And certain businesses are just not conducive to that, but they could be great companies, right? And so that's where friends and family or self-investing or organic growth or getting more traditional debt or lines of credit are more appropriate for those type of businesses. Could be, a barbershop or a contractor, right? Very successful, but not a venture backable type business. I think industries like tech and bio and stuff like that require, in many instances, sometimes venture capital. Raising venture capital, raising money sucks. It's just not a fun thing to do. It's difficult even for the most well-connected people in many respects. Sometimes raising capital is not easy. I think it's particularly hard. I mean, statistically, it's just clearly much harder if you're a female or if you're a minority, right? If you're, like a Latino or Black female, it's virtually impossible to raise, even with great businesses and so forth. And so I think for me, I found that a lot of when we were going out for Optik, a lot of the big venture capital firms wouldn't even take meetings with us, right? And then many of the other ones that took meetings with us, I think, turned us down for superficial reasons. I had some of the big venture capital firms that bet on other founders that I thought were less impressive than I was. Obviously, I'm biased, but
No, but objectively.
but objectively, if we looked at kind of their resume or their traction or stuff like that, they didn't meet up to what we did. And you could whine about that. You could be down about it. I mean, it pissed me off, whatever. I still get upset sometimes when I think about it. But it also, I think, in many respects, helped me because I was so pissed off and so motivated that to just crush those other companies and make those VCs wrong, that I think it helped. You gotta have like some conviction and like it's tough being an entrepreneur. There's rejection. There's things that you think are gonna go right that don't go right, and so you have to have something in you and motivation. Everybody likes making money, but that can only go so far. But I find that just being pissed off and feeling slighted is sometimes the best motivation.
Yeah, no, I 1,000% agree. Entrepreneurship is, you have to have such grit, and I feel like it's so, celebrated, and it's really, it can be quite an ugly, difficult journey for so many. Is there one time that maybe jumps out, or maybe a handful of times that you failed, maybe a company that you were trying to build didn't work out and it really was crushing for you? And in those moments, how do you kind of pick yourself up and continue?
I mean, I've definitely had instances of things like that first startup I told you about, Jarif. I mean, it failed, right? I mean, we shut it down. We couldn't raise the money. It I think was an amazing idea. There was a lot of copycat type companies that came out 2 or 3 years later. I think we were just ahead of our time. but we use kind of the insight that we got, or the vantage point that that company gave us, to start another one literally immediately, that ended up being, you know, immensely successful. And so I think failure is only finite. It really only happens if you quit and you don't learn from it. Oftentimes it's just a change in your path or your direction that often can help you do better. So I can't really think of an instance of me just flat out failing, walking away and be like, I failed. I can think of things that did not go well, did not go right, and I was upset, and okay, forcing me to go a different way. And that different way is oftentimes, or almost pretty much all the time, end up being better.
For
So,
sure. Pivot,
yeah.
pivot,
Yeah.
right? And entrepreneurship. That's amazing. And so True Optic, can you just speak a little bit about what that company was at a high level for those that aren't aware of it?
Yeah, in the simplest of forms, the challenge that the advertising industry had as media consumption shifted from traditional web or even mobile to being on smart TVs or connected TVs was that the mechanisms that they used to do targeting for advertising or measure how many people they reached, you know, things like web cookies or Nielsen panels, just the traditional stuff that media used, they just weren't relevant on the smart TV with the technology and the way that the content was consumed. And so what Curating did was we patented the concept of a household graph back in 2014, which allowed people to understand data tied to different devices in the household. And then we created a data marketplace that brands and advertisers could use to target consumers on a smart TV with commercials in the same way that they would do it on linear television or on, you know, desktop or mobile. So we just made it so that people could transact on this new medium. And essentially what we made was pennies on the dollar from every time people were advertising. And no one cared in 2013 when we started the company, and everybody cared in 2020 when we sold it, right?
Wow.
So, yeah.
That is so unbelievable. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your jersey right now.
Yeah, so this is the Connecticut United. This is my soccer team. It's a professional team in Major League Soccer, MLS Next Pro. So it's like the second division of Major League Soccer in the US. And the front of kit sponsor is PHYND. And PHYND is the new tech company that is launching today.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So you have a soccer team. Did you play soccer?
Not competitively. So my wife and I ran track at UConn. That's where we met. We ran track in college. But just a big soccer fan since high school and through college. Still today, a huge soccer fan. And between being a fan and then living in a state like Connecticut, where it's the highest soccer viewing market in the country, without a major league soccer team, has one of the higher, soccer youth participation rates, and we don't have in Connecticut NFL or NBA or MLB or NHL. And so it just seemed like, wow, this is the most densely populated, affluent market in America without any of these things. And it's soccer crazy. Probably makes sense to start a soccer team here. So as soon as sold True Optic, started working on it. Started thinking about it years before that, but like didn't have the resources to pull it off. But as soon as we sold the company, it was like the number one thing on my list to try to make it happen. So it took, yeah.
But was it hard? So you started the team? Did you buy the team or you started?
So it's an expansion club. So we started from scratch. So there it took a few years to work with the league to get the rights for Connecticut. And then we had to, brand it, and we started Youth Academy, the only free professional soccer academy between New York and Boston. And the colors, because this is like a custom purple.
It's so pretty. We love it.
And so it's been several years in the making. We just had our first home match in New Haven, Connecticut, at Yale University 2 days ago, and that was sold out, and it was just fun to see. And it's also exciting because you see the billboards around the state now, and I'm there in the parking lot and watching little kids walking up in this jersey, and the away jersey, which is a black kit, and it's all advertising for the gaming platform too. So it's all full circle and exciting. Yeah.
Now it gives me chills. I can't imagine what that must feel like, because I know for me, at the heart of my company, and what I've noticed with so many founders is it, and to your point earlier, it's like, money is important to a point, but it sort of falls to the wayside, and especially as you get a little bit older, it really, for me at least, comes down to impact. So I can't imagine for you to kind of be looking around, your town and seeing the impact that you've made, and it was a dream of yours, and just to see your dreams unfold. What does that feel like when you start to see all the fruits of your labor, the time, the money, all the things, all the ugly moments that people don't see? Of course they're going to be there for your wins, but I mean, what does that really feel like when you're having these moments of success that you're having? You're hitting a lot of highs right now, and I'm just really excited.
Yeah. I mean, people see the highs; they don't see the lows as much. But there's frankly, if you're an entrepreneur, at least for me and most of the people I know, there's actually way more lows than there are highs.
Oh yeah. Facts.
And I think one of the things with me in particular is I can celebrate the high, and 3 minutes later I'm already thinking about that. Like it's hard to it's hard to really stay in the moment too long. So I'm already, we were there in the first game, and I'm walking around and I'm just like, oh man, the concession lines are too long.
Yeah,
It's
you're
like,
going around.
Literally, I'm thinking like
the deficiencies, the problems, everything that needs to be fixed. You're not walking around like fully celebrating and just chilling.
Yeah. So like I'm just always just thinking about the next thing. I've already been thinking like, oh, we've got to get a third kind of alternate kit for next season, and when the designer's going to start working on that, that's almost a year away, right? So I think that's just how my mind works, but I kind of enjoy that. So I think part of being an entrepreneur is the planning and the strategy. That actually to me is the fun part, to know that if you plan or strategize on something, you can bring it to fruition. That's in some respects that's more fun than the success, right? It's like
the journey, as they say, right?
It's the good parts of the journey, not the bad parts. If we could skip those, I'd be happy to do those.
We can delete those.
Yeah.
Wow. And how do you think your kids view you? Like in all of your highs and lows, and they've seen, I'm sure, so much of this. What impact do you think your entrepreneurial journey, all of it, the highs and the lows, the messy middle, everything in between, what do you think that's taught them?
I would hope kind of just one, work ethic, and two, kind of belief in what's possible to be achieved. And you're like, we have pictures from Christmas Eve, like 7 p.m., 6 p.m., 8 p.m. Christmas Eve from like 2015, 2016, 2017 of our kids with us in the office.
Wow.
Right? Like that we can show them, and they were there, like they're drawing, they're coloring, they're there because we're working.
You're part of the team. You're on the
right?
team.
And so I often like think back about it. I'm like, okay, our kids literally grew up seeing us
build companies.
My wife and I like trying to build this company and being there on Christmas Eve at the office. Like that was their Christmas Eve experience for 3 years straight. And so things like that, I hope are rubbing off on them. But our daughter will be working for us this summer. She interned for us last summer. So yeah.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, you just hope that you leave a positive character building trait as they're watching you and being there for those moments. I know when my kids are in my studio, they love it. I have candy to bribe them, make sure they love it, give them all access to YouTube, which we don't normally have for them. But it's important that you're modeling that and showing them the art of the possible, because dreams really come true. I mean, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So then how on earth did you get started with Find? I mean, so you've had this huge exit. Now you've built and launched this professional soccer team. Okay, and you're not taking a break. You're not ready to relax yet.
So if I have one regret, I did not take literally one day off. So after I sold to Optik, I had a 2-year earnout at TransUnion. So I was the senior vice president of the media and entertainment vertical and helping build that business out. And post the acquisition, as a part of transition, Optic just went like, we were already going like this, and we just kept going. I would say, the last 3 years, from the last year before we sold to the 2 years before I left, we probably 30x'd revenue, maybe more, maybe 40. A lot. I can't remember offhand, but it was a lot.
Wow.
In terms of how we grew. And so you're just kind of in that grind. And then I left on, I think my last day was a Friday. And I had the new email address, new website, and was up on the Monday, right?
You're a beast.
And if I could go back, I would have taken like 6 months off to not do anything, at least 3 months off, if I could go back, because I just never got to kind of just relax and enjoy for a little bit. But at the same time, then I'd be maybe 3 to 6 months behind where I'm at now. So maybe, but but in terms of, gaming, with Optik, we were powering all this advertising for streaming video. And then we also were powering streaming audio advertising on smart speakers, which had the same challenges as the smart TVs. I was always more bullish on the opportunity for streaming with gaming and cloud-based gaming. But if we think 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, the infrastructure really wasn't there, right? Logistically, the internet speed that you had to have in the household to do cloud gaming correctly, most households did not have that speed there. 6, 7 years ago, remember the conversation was, and most people, nobody remembers it now, but it was, will Netflix be able to grow because there's not enough bandwidth for them to stream in HD?
Crazy,
That's where
crazy conversations.
HD,
I know,
we're talking about
right?
HD video. Now we're at 4K and 8K
right,
and
100%.
people gaming and stuff
So
like
crazy.
that. And so gaming, even though I was more bullish in it, it wasn't really there. And then the cloud costs to deliver it were astronomical. And so logistically, it just wasn't viable back then. But now, or the last couple of years ago, I said, okay, it's getting there. And so what PHYND really is a continuation of a lot of what I do. Is
Builds on itself.
it's building on itself. So Optik was, hey, this is the back end, what we figured out with Dreeve, but we couldn't do on the front end. Let's build a back end business with it, with Optik. With Optik, we powered all the back end of this monetization of media. Gaming was too ahead of its time. Right. Now PHYND is like, okay, well, it's time for gaming, but we're not going to be the back end. We're going to be all of it. We're going to be the front end for the consumer so they can play the games. We're going to be the distributor, the monetization engine for the gaming studios to help them. And we have all the back end data and targeting because we built the entire ecosystem for this around smart TVs over a decade ago. And so, yeah, it's really exciting. The challenge that gaming has right now is it's very hard for independent games or even some larger studio games to be discovered. There's so much saturation. There's tens of thousands of games on PC and gaming console, and then the gaming consoles own a lot of their own IP. So why am I going to market this person's game? I got my own game I just invested $1 billion in, and it's my platform. And so you have all this amazing content that goes undiscovered and isn't monetized well. And then the economy's not that great. And so, when I think about it, Q4, this Christmas, sure, a working class family or middle class family could buy their kid a console for $600 and then go spend $60, $70 on a video game to play, Mario Kart or something like that.
Hey, that's my jam.
Right.
Mario Kart.
Or you can go on PHYND and you can play Smurf Kart for free. And so on your TV.
So
and so
much
I think
better.
So I think the value proposition that we're bringing to consumers I truly believe is unprecedented in the history of gaming on a big screen. And I think it's also really helpful for the studios to kind of diversify their revenue stream. And then obviously for brands, now you can reach these consumers and you're the hero. Hey, I got to play this game for free because I saw your brand message for 30 seconds before the game started and I saved $70. So
it's genius.
Well, we hope so.
I mean, as a mother, I will say that when my kids wanted a console and I figured out how expensive it was, I was like, yeah, that's a no. And then you guys came along and guess what? We're going to be all in there.
Exactly. And the thing is too, is that kids have really short attention span.
Yes.
And so you buy this console, the console's only good for 3 years because then you got to get the next console.
Yep.
Or the game that you spent $70 on, they play it for a week after Christmas and they're like, oh, I don't like this game anymore. And then, well, I already spent the money. And so I think one of the things is that this ability on Find to go out and you could play a game for a week and then like, you know what, I don't want to play it anymore. I'm just going to scroll down and play another game. And you can play 10 games in one day. And so we're really excited. We bet a lot in this. I mean, to go back to your first question about when do you raise capital, when do you do this, and how hard it is. I mean, we put a lot, millions and millions of our own money into this to get it off the ground, and then we were able to attract venture capital firms that frankly turned us down on Optik and other big institutional investors that were like, yeah, this could be transformational. So there's a lot of people that are making some big bets on this, and so we'll see if I'm a genius or a fool pretty soon.
No, I think it's genius as a non-traditional gamer. I do have a special request on behalf of myself and several other middle-aged women, which Mel said, make sure you ask him. I would like to request 2 games, put it out to your team. I'm going public on the request. I would like to see Mahjong.
Okay.
And it's not just for the older generation, folks. It's a great strategy game that is going viral, going crazy in person. And what I'm finding is it's only online. There's a company called ilovemaj.com that respectfully feels a little clunky. And I'd love to see something like for us up in the, up on our TVs that we can play, and something that is much more just user-friendly, interesting to look at. In real life, it's Chinese tiles, and they are beautiful. So I'd like to see something, a little bit more sleek there. And Sudoku. I think Sudoku is a game a lot of people like, different levels, of course. And those are my 2 requests. If I think of any more, I'll text you.
First request, I can tell you is in the works. Second request, I'm honestly not familiar with Sudoku.
Okay, we'll talk about it. They have lots of paper copies. There's some digital ones. There's apps. My father even likes it. It's good for your mind. But we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I'm learning something. I feel like I should know, but I don't know.
Go. So how many games do you have today that folks can be excited to play and kind of go suss out?
Yeah, so in our catalog, we have, I think, over 150 already cleared. Today with the launch, I think people are going to get like 40 something that folks are going to get access to in the beta. So we're launching the beta, and then what we'll do is people can register for a free account. So again, there's no credit card, there's none of that.
Wow.
But your email address or your cell phone, so you can register and create your user profile. Once people do create that free profile, they're going to start getting like 5 games a week added to their library every week. Like we're just going to add more. We already have the games. Wow. It's just a matter of also not overburdening people. Sometimes there's paralysis by analysis. Like, oh, here's hundreds of games.
It's like going to a restaurant with too many items on the menu.
And so, what we'll do is, here's a curated library of games, and we're going to keep on recommending additional games and adding games to your library every week that you can try or not try, but at least they're there, as opposed to just, here's the kitchen sink at your one time.
That is such a smart strategy. I think it is brilliant what you've done. It's really incredible. And you're about to go speak on stage. What did you come into town for?
So at GamesBeat, so I'll be on with Samsung, who's our launch partner today, and we're just going to be talking about not only connected TV and gaming, but AI, and it's going to be pretty exciting.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait! And congratulations. I also understand that your daughter is graduating from high school. Is that right?
Yes. So I'm taking the red eye back tomorrow, so I can make it graduation's on 3 days from now. So.
Oh my gosh! Well, congratulations. There's so many big wins, and it's just exciting to watch. And then it's your birthday, which you forgot about, but I reminded you.
That is true. Too much going on to worry about my birthday.
Too much going on, too much goodness, and of course, thank you so much to my dear friend, my childhood friend, Melody Yazdinyar, for connecting us. And she's obviously wildly passionate about you and everyone on the team and everything you guys are doing. And her excitement got me excited. So.
Awesome. Yeah, and Mel's the one that led the Samsung partnership, so I'm sure she's an exciting day for her as well.
That's so awesome. I'm so proud of her. Well, we're so excited for you, all your success, for Find, and where should folks look? How can they get started?
So you can go on your Samsung TV and you can go in the gaming hub, or you can just search in your app store for PHYND, PHYND. You can also go to our website, find.games, and so you can sign up for the wait list if you have an LG or Fire TV or any of the other major smart TV manufacturers, and we'll send you a notification when it's available on your TV, which it will be available on every major TV over the coming months.
Amazing. Oh, well, thank you for your time, Andre.
Thanks for having me.
Happy that you were here, and see you next time, guys.